Thank you everyone for being here. I'm here to talk about Etherlink, and the first question that you might have is, what is Etherlink? So, Etherlink is a new blockchain. It's in fact a layer 2 that rolls up on the Tezos blockchain. So you might ask yourself, why would we want to do another layer 2? There's already a million coming out every week. And what is left to be done in that space? So in that talk, I'm going to talk about mainly what Etherlink does for enabling the next generation of financial apps. It can do more, but that's something that we see quite a need in the market still to be filled properly and with the right bells and whistles. So I'm going to talk about what is Etherlink, first of all. Then why would I use a chain as a user and as a builder? And then how can you be part of it and what can it do for you? Etherlink is a new blockchain and the launch date is slated for March 2024. It's actually an optimistic rollup, and we've chosen the optimistic rollup tech stack because it has product market fit. It actually leads to very cheap to use blockchains, which are both cheap and secure. The block time can be very short, as we're seeing right now with some of the pioneers in that space, with optimistic rollups like OP mainnet and the others on the OP stack, or also Arbitrum One and the ones on the Arbitrum stack. The chain will be fully EVM compatible. At this point, the market has spoken, and really what people want is to coalesce around a technology that has proven critical mass in the ecosystem, both from a builder adoption perspective, with all of the tools, great tools being made by third parties like ThirdWeb and Alchemy and so on, and on the user side as well, with things that help you track your portfolios with addresses that are actually like Ethereum standard, and things like MetaMask and Ruby Wallet by the great guys at the dbank team, and some of the others that are also like really helpful for tracking and interacting with EVM compatible chains. And finally, one thing I thought I would mention here, because we're here in Berlin, is that we're actually a proudly European blockchain, and Etherlink itself, most of the team members on that project are actually based in Paris. There's very few blockchain projects at scale that are developed in Europe, and so I thought I would mention this, and there is something about Europe later in the slides as well. So I thought I would just start with an overall comparison of the layer 2 chains. And just as a quick summary, I know most of you are experts in this, but layer 2s are essentially blockchains that inherit their security model from the layer 1s that they roll up into. There's a long heritage and a long line of work on how to scale blockchains in a modular fashion. Ethereum has been a pioneer in this, and so has Cosmos and various other parts of the wider blockchain ecosystem. But those blockchains, so far, have focused on doing execution off-chain. And by off-chain, I mean on the layer 2, as opposed to the layer 1 to which they roll up. The blockchains that are currently on my slide are a lot of the major layer 2s that roll up on Ethereum. And the tech readiness axis is admittedly a little bit biased, and that's something that we've worked on internally, based on L2Bit, a great website to do this, and some of our own experience using those chains, and the tech stacks that we know they use for various things. So the x-axis shows you how close they are to being tech ready for enabling the next generation of financial apps and apps in general. And on the left side, you have the y-axis showing you the size of their ecosystem, for which we've used the total value locked, or TVL, to make it simple, essentially how much value has been deposited on those various chains. And you'll notice that I did that before Blast was announced, which is still not a layer 2, but essentially will become one and has shot up on top of the rankings very quickly. In that ranking, we see one last thing, a chart really. We see that Arbitrum One and OP mainnet are in the lead, and for a reason, both from a text point of view and an ecosystem size point of view. And in fact, we see something that is quite clear, which is that the chains that are in the top right of the chart where you want to be essentially, are all optimistic rollups. So Mentor, Base, OP mainnet, Arbitrum1 are all optimistic rollups. And the ones that are like in the lower bits are more of ZK rollups, relying on a very advanced piece of technology called ZK proof and various things around it, which has huge potential, but will take some time to mature into enabling cheap and very fast layer 2 blockchains. So as a result, for Etherlink, we've chosen the optimistic tech stack for now, which doesn't mean that later on we cannot switch to ZK rollups or anything like that. Same as Arbitrum and OP mainnet. So now, why would you use Etherlink? There's already so many layer 2s out there. Even in the ones that have size on it and more than 100 million of TVL or something, you already have like 4 or 5 in the market currently. First of all, Etherlink competes against the blockchains, the layer 2 blockchains that are very secure. Etherlink has the exact same security as Tezos itself, which is its layer 1, and the same can largely be true of Arbitrum1 and ZK Sync era, as it refers to security being on par with what Ethereum would have. So the first thing is that they're all 3 secure. Take my word on it, or read our docs, it's even better. But actually, the cost for doing things on-chain, both now and in the immediate future, because Ethereum is getting an upgrade, which is very talked about, EIP 4844 with side blob carrying transactions, enabling for much cheaper data publishing on-chain. But so for now, and I did that test yesterday night, so it's very fresh, and I can tell you that's, in my opinion, correct. Currently, if you're trying to do a swap between 2 ERC20 tokens, no wrapping and unwrapping of ETH in the transaction, no approval being taken into account for that cost. Yesterday night, with a gas price on Ethereum of 36 GWh, roughly, I did a test on Arbitrum1, and it cost me about 55 cents to do that transaction. And it cost me about 92 cents to do the exact same transaction, also on a Uniswap v3 fork on ZK Sync era. That thing will come down substantially as Ethereum gets upgraded early next year, but it will come down by maximum an order of magnitude, or at least that's what the experts in that space seem to imply. And so it means that even if you take a bullish assessment of where Arbitrum1 fees would sit, this time next year, or probably a bit much earlier, it would be something like 5 to 7 cents. And no one really knows because there is a market for this and so on. 5 to 7 cents for a transaction, that gets us something that is very good. It's already what you would get and what you would pay ballpark on BNB chain at the moment, or Avalanche C chain, or others that have taken a view of being slightly more centralized, at least for the beginning and the training world, before they go full on. And that's good, but I don't believe that gets us to where we want to be, which is being able to do very, very cheap transactions in something that costs an order of magnitude less than what is currently being done. And that could be used for large transactions, which is already the case even on Ethereum mainnet itself, or much smaller ones, and those microtransactions that people were talking about in the early days of Bitcoin, more recently with the Lightning Network and all this. And with the transaction costing less than a cent, we're starting to get there. So that's the first, and in my opinion, the biggest point about Etherlink. The second one, which is very crucial for if you're trading on the chain, looking to make some money on the chain, and looking to use it for transfers of values that has some kind of real value in it, is MEV protection. Currently, you do have that on Arbitrum1, I have to say, because Arbitrum1 uses a centralized sequencer. That is an intermediary step, and Arbitrum1 is doing a lot of research at the moment to move into what's going to be called a decentralized sequencer, and some things that would have pre-consensus at the layer 2 level before the transactions are rolled up to be published on the layer 1. we don't know when this will happen. We don't know exactly what kind of MEV protection will be afforded by that design that they're working on. And what we do know is that Etherlink and the team has been working hard on a version of a decentralized sequencer that will be available fairly soon and is something that protects you from MEV by design. There is a fast L1 finality on Etherlink, and that's something that is a little more technical, but might be important for some of the companies and various current incumbents and intermediaries that would be looking to use Etherlink for various protocols and various use cases. The finality on Ethereum is not deterministic. On average, we know it takes something like 12.8 minutes. But you don't exactly know when it's going to happen, and there's been some delays on finality in the past. Etherlink benefits from the layer 1 that it rolls up into, in the sense that Tezos has a finality of essentially like within 30 seconds in the current version of the chain, you will have finality, and you know that you won't have any block reorg happening, and you know that what's been on the chain will stay that way forever. And lastly, we're going to have an ecosystem incubator. That is something that the various other chains are also doing partnerships with in order to bring more and more applications to their chains, and they've been very successful in doing that. We're actually doing that ourselves. Within the ecosystem, we have various core teams in Paris, in Singapore, in London, and we'll be doing those incubators. The first one will be coming most likely in March. And those incubators will benefit from real means, a lot of follow-up from our expert teams internally, and will let you actually build on Etherlink with the resources that you need and the sort of like help and mentorship and guidance that is not that common actually in Europe at this point. Having been an entrepreneur in the space myself not too long ago, that sort of like follow-on and help for entrepreneurs is a lot more common in the US and some parts of Asia than it is here in Europe. So we're looking to change that. So as a sort of like last takeaway slide, I tried to pack a bunch of things in it, as you can see. So what can you do actually? How can you be part of it? How can you benefit from what we're building on Etherlink? And how can you follow our progress and be there when it starts? Because as you know, in many, many places in the crypto ecosystem and in blockchain, being early matters. So first of all, you can join our community on Discord and Twitter. The Twitter handle is right there on the slide, and essentially that is the first time we're even funneling anyone to that Twitter or X account and to Discord and even to Telegram. So you'll be very early if you decide to join us from this point onwards. Second thing, you can check our progress and what we're doing on the testnet, also the mainnet later on, and what our partners are currently integrating with Etherlink. A few of the key partners that I can talk about here, they're also on the main etherlink.com portal and so on. Layer 0 will be available from day one with the ability for all of you to bridge from any of the chains that you might already have some money on, supported by Layer 0 to Etherlink for free. We're subsidizing the gas for you. Both getting in and out of Etherlink will be very cheap or free. You'll also be able to use oracles, and those oracles, we've done a lot of work for price feed oracles specifically, and Redstone, one of our partners, is hard at work in integrating Etherlink and making available quite a few price feeds that we're making available for you to use for free as Etherlink launches, and so your various apps and money markets and derivatives marketplaces and NFT marketplaces can use data from outside of the immediate blockchain itself. We also have guys working on an explorer, which is fairly unique and has some features that I haven't seen in many places in other ecosystems, and lets you verify contracts and all of those things that you would have in other ecosystems of the EVM scope, but also do things like inherit from a centralized database, bad word in crypto, but some like anything that would have a bytecode that resembles something else that's been deployed even on another EVM chain will actually be detected by that explorer and be displayed for you even before you go and verify the smart contract yourself if you're the one who deployed it. And tons of other partners are working on it. Apps, some other infrastructure partners that are in between the app layer and the base layer. and things like that. You can also, for the brave devs among you, you can actually come and contribute to Etherlink. Etherlink is an open source project. Everything we do, we're building in public here. And between GitLab, GitHub, and various repos that we're going to put all together on that Etherlink.com organization on GitHub, you'll be able to not only follow what we're doing, but potentially contribute yourself. And we might have some bounties out there for you to do that later on. And finally, of course, you can reach out to us. We have a booth here, a Tezos booth with a lot of my colleagues happily manning the booth and making efforts to reach out to the community and to understand what we could do for European builders in particular, but anyone really, to have an easier time coming and making their ideas a reality on the chain. And that's something that you'll always find a super warm community in the Tezos ecosystem at large and in Etherlink in particular. That's something we're really putting a focus on. And we've met some people at this conference who actually might help us achieve that. And so please reach out to me, to my colleague Thomas, who made the talk this morning on a workshop on Etherlink, Damien, who will now be based in Germany to cover the German market, boots on the ground. We're all here to essentially answer your questions. And if you prefer an email to reach out, the reachout@etherlink.com email is monitored closely by our BD team. And I can guarantee you that you'll have an answer if you reach out on that email. So that's essentially what I wanted to tell you. The Etherlink blockchain, especially for a blockchain built in Europe, benefits from significant resources, both manpower, grants, and investments that the various core teams will facilitate and that the foundation will eventually approve. Things related to the marketing efforts that will really start. The budget to make everything happen is not negligible, may ramp up over time, and we truly are committed to making Etherlink a success. So thank you for hearing me today, and we hope to see you on Etherlink very soon.